I think a lot of Terry's films do tend to follow the pattern that is set by the sort of major theme of it. I mean, Brazil was this basic struggle against authoritarianism, which is sort of what happened to it in its history with Universal. And this seems to be, you know, the motto of the Baron is Mendace Veritas, which I take to mean out of lying to the truth, or from lies to truth. And that sort of, this bluff and reality seems to be how the film is actually progressing.
There's a theme that Michael Kamen wrote, which appears first in the theatrical sequence, where two mermaids come out as the Baron's been swallowed by this big cutout whale, and they sing, "What will become of the Baron? Surely this time he cannot escape." And that's become a little theme song in my head now. Each time we hit another problem, sure, oh, how does it go? What will become of the Baron? Surely this time he'll not escape. What will become of the Baron? Surely this time he will not escape. Boom. It's like, it feels like that. So this film is going to be a series of impossible escapes from disaster, hopefully. At least that's the script we wrote.
Where the hell's Berthold?
Dunno.
What is with you? Well, if he's not here in 3.5 minutes, the Sultan is going to cut off my head. And?
Was that all? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't find that funny. You find that funny?
This isn't a joke. It's a wager.
A wager?
All four of the Baron's servants possess extraordinary powers. Idle is the world's fastest runner. Charles McEwan has phenomenal eyesight. Jack Purvis can blow hurricanes. And Winston Dennis has the strength of a giant. In common with John Neville's Baron, they all have to play a variety of ages, something on which Gilliam held firm views.
Once we got them to Rome on the one-way ticket system that we provide on this film, we then insisted they all shave their heads.
The actual shock of it, having your hair shaved, was, you know, it was weird because he never actually told us he was going to do it. He says, you know, you got to have, the way Terry talks is, yeah, you've got to have this, that and the other, and it didn't really took him serious at the time.
We had a great hair shearing ceremony, which unfortunately you probably don't have on film, but because you weren't there at the day. You do? Oh, great. Well, why not look at it right now? I actually wonder if you ought to have eyebrows.
He has got them.
Oh, why do I ask this question?
Sorry, Amy. He's just got a big, you can't slide wigs about on it anymore.
The problem is they have to go from being young, beautiful creatures to old, decrepit creatures. And to be old, they needed to be bald and have thinning hair, rather than wearing bald caps, which are cumbersome and they always look terrible. We thought it was better that everybody shaved their heads and we could put anything we wanted to on their heads, which they did. And there was a strange group of people wandering around Rome. You could tell who was in the film and who wasn't.
It's pure sexual jealousy is the reason. He doesn't want anybody more handsome or virile appearing on the set than him. And if he can possibly stick warts all over your face and shave your hair off and make you very uncomfortable, he will.
Hey?
Do I hear the Baron?
Hello, doctors. Do I hear the Baron?
I just said that. Use a trumpet.
Adolphus.
My whole face and neck is covered in latex or plastic, to make it simpler, to make the wrinkles. But I also, this is not my real nose. I do have quite a large, prominent nose in life, but this is much larger. And this is what you see now is very, very like the Doré illustrations. I mean, they have been very careful to do that. The jutting beard and the nose with the hook in it and the wig and this saucy tail to the wig.
Working at Cinecittà proved to be a two-edged sword. The design expertise had to be balanced against the Italian studio system.
By things being begun in a rush, working in a studio that is a very strange bureaucratic system, Cinecittà, where sets are promised and sets don't quite arrive on time. Dante was only allowed a couple of days to actually dress the set. We went into this thing, a very complicated theater set with no idea of what worked, what didn't work, and we discovered the hard way.
It's really quite extraordinary, and you wouldn't have got the same sort of feeling of texture and 18th centuryness that you do actually get in these 17th century studios. So, I mean, I think in the long run it will pay off, and in the short run it still is quite pleasant, you know, to be in Rome at night time, and when the rest of your life you finally tear off all these rags and can go to dinner.
A week ago, we were getting ready, I think a week from production, from shooting, and on the Monday we were told that Spain wasn't going to allow us to bring in 4 horses that we had trained several months for because there had been an outbreak of African horse fever. So these horses that are trained, the Baron's horses, are trained to do incredible things that we've been spending ages on making them do it, now can't go to Spain to do these tricks. 2 days later, we were told that the dogs we've been training for months came down with a liver complaint. A day after that, David Putnam resigned. So I'm not sure which was the most important disaster that week. We'll find out in some time. This is the end of day 2 in Spain. Yesterday I was actually finished. I actually thought it was all over. Then Eric Idle and several glasses of sherry and wine and Charles McEwen, Jonathan Price, we all decided I had to go on, if only for John Neville's career. I've dragged him all the way here. First to Italy, then to Spain. He's hardly had a chance to act. And we've got to make him the most famous man in the world. So for that we carry on, only for that.
John Neville is one of our, you know, one of the English great actors. He is the sort of generation of Burton, and he spent his time wisely avoiding being in bad films. And it's rather lovely that he should be, you know, come into this film and be this character, the Baron.
When we began, I was actually looking for a great actor that had been forgotten by the world and history, and there weren't many of them around. Everybody seemed to be known. And we went through a list of a lot of very famous people, and the one name that kept popping up was John Neville.
It was odd, really, because it's such a huge movie, and brave of Mr. Gilliam, perhaps, even to think of me, although I know I'm a good actor. I'm not actually a movie name. It was going to pull a lot of people in.
Have you any famous last words?
Not yet.
Not yet? Is that famous?
The man's a buffoon.
Executioner! Execute!
I mean, I sit around and look at this thing, this camp and all the things here. And yesterday, I was seriously thinking of just, I really was, that was it was all over. I'll tell you the turning point. I was looking around at this stuff and saying, there's no way I can let anybody else finish this film, no matter what happens. And then I looked out to sea, and there were the 3 elephants. And they were out bathing in that water out there, and the sea was pounding, and the elephants were rolling about. And I just threw off my hat, my shoes, and everything, ran out to the elephants. And the man who had the elephants sort of threw me up on top of one, and suddenly there I was heading out to sea on an elephant. In about a week and a half from now, we'll be going to, leaving Almeria and going to Belchite, which is near Zaragoza in northern Spain. I don't know, I think I'm looking forward to that.
It was in Belchite that they shot the dramatic exterior scenes of a town in the last stages of siege. But Gilliam himself was under siege from a finance company increasingly concerned about mounting costs. On their return from Spain, the money men acted. Production ceased while Gilliam struggled with the necessity of making cuts to his script.
What will become of the Baron? Surely this time there is no escape. What will become of the Baron? Surely this time there is no escape.
Charles just kept, I've never seen him so sort of determined to you know, force me into something. And he just kept pushing, and we went back and we just started coming up with some very silly ideas. You know, and we just started trying, and suddenly it all started making sense. And
in about an hour, we pulled the whole thing back together again. Called David Tomlin and said, "Call it, we've got it, we've done it." And we rushed in, and it's the whole film. I mean, that's what the shape of the film is like. These sort of knife edge, brinkmanship way of living.